So I looked at my grandmother's Bible this morning. I took it up and it's pretty much falling apart. The so-called leather cover is cracking. And so I tend to ask and pray before I open the scriptures, just to be led by Spirit to a particular passage that will speak to me. And that is what I did this morning. I asked Grandma for a word. Give me a word this morning. Proverbs chapter 13. And I know there are different versions of the Bible that people read, but I'm reading from the King James Version. So it says, "A wise son heareth his father's instructions, but a scorner heareth not rebuke. A man shall eat good by the fruit of his mouth, but the soul of the transgressors shall eat violence. He that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life, but he that opened wide his lips shall have destruction. The soul of the sluggard desireth, and hath nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat. A righteous man hateth lying, but a wicked man is loathsome and cometh to shame. Righteousness keepeth him that is upright in the way, but wickedness overthroweth the sinner. There is that maketh himself rich, yet hath nothing. There is that maketh himself poor, yet hath great riches." Yeah, the ransom of the man's life are his riches, but the poor heareth not rebuke. The light of the righteous rejoice, but the lamp of the wicked shall be put out. Only by pride cometh contention, but with the well-advised is wisdom. Wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase. So, this really spoke to me this morning very loud and clear, and primarily because yesterday I kept walking around the house saying, "The wealth of the wicked shall be transferred to the righteous. The wealth of the wicked shall be transferred to the righteous. The wealth of the wicked shall be transferred to the righteous." And I kept saying it over and over because I know there is power in words and putting the words out there in the atmosphere. And I said, you know what? So why don't you use this power that you have and open your mouth and speak it? The wealth of the wicked shall be transferred to the righteous. So then this morning, I get led to this chapter and I get led to these words, which confirms what I was speaking about yesterday, right? So there is that maketh himself rich, yet hath nothing. There is that maketh himself poor, yet hath riches. There is that maketh himself rich, yet hath nothing. There is that maketh himself poor, yet hath great riches. And I always felt that some of the quote-unquote poorest people are the most richest in the world. Richer than any billionaire that you've ever come across. I can give an example. When I was married as a young girl to a man that was so poor, quote unquote, I say, he lived in a house that was made of wood and brick, but the ceiling was made of zinc. So he lived in a country in Jamaica. And here we were standing at a piece of property in Jamaica, standing on the other side of the gate. And he started saying to me, "Gina, Me want mine you, you know. We want go live a foreign. Go build me house. Make all my money, take care of my family. Me can come back here to Jamaica proud. And me can stay inside this ya hotel. Me want mine you, Gina. Me want mine you. We would just stand there together at the gate as he dreamed out loud about his desire to take care of me. And that one day, after we have lived in America and made all this money, he could come back to Jamaica proud with his family and stay at this very ritzy hotel. And I remember we used to shower outside under the tree. I don't know what kind of tree it was, but I remember the branches used to hang over the shower stall. The shower stall was made out of zinc as well. And then there was an outhouse that was made out of bricks. But the roaches loved to roam and scatter inside that outhouse. There was nothing you can do to tame the roaches or the ants, the red ants especially, and the spiders and the lizards. Everybody ate freely. It was just all part of the environment. But I remember he used to forecast my ex-husband, and he used to dream out loud. And I stood there and I felt like a little girl beside him, looking up to him. He could do almost anything with his hands. Build his house, cook his food, plant his food, and provide. And no matter how much I admired him for being the man he was, the young man, he looked at himself as a poor, wretched soul. I saw him as a rich man, where he could make his way with his hands. Back home, I know the men that didn't get the opportunities that they desired pretty much just sat down and gave up. They felt defeated. No one's going to hire me. I'm just going to give up. And maybe I'll just tend to selling drugs and I'll just go on the streets. But no, not my ex in the country in Jamaica. No, he labored, cooked, provided, did any little job he could, was a plumber by trade. And no matter how many times I told him, "You are amazing. I love you," he did not believe it. He felt like he was a poor man. But I knew better. I knew he was rich already. And there are many people like him in the world who labor for their families, who don't mind picking up a heavy bag and throwing it over their shoulder, or a rack of ribs or whatever. Because I've seen that too. Yes, I did. I've seen men labor, carry long racks of ribs over their shoulders and carry them into the smokehouse from a hard day's work, labor. Now it's time to sell it and make a profit. People climb ackee trees and dig in the ground and get the yam. Yeah, climb coconut trees. Men that are considered to be poor. Yet, they were very rich. Richer than any man. They have women and men like this all over the world. All over the world, creating some amazing things out of another man's trash. You throw it away and they make use of it. They are not poor. They are far from poor. So you may want to rethink what you believe to be rich and poor, given these examples. You may want to look at yourself and say, am I really poor? What do I offer the world? whether I offer them a listening ear, a word of advice, a word of encouragement. Would you say that's a poor man, poor woman? I have a friend abroad. She lives in Tobago. Her phone doesn't stop ringing from people in the village. They call her for everything. I can't get a word in. I might as well just live there with her because people call her all the time. Her phone rings off. She's a valuable resource in her community. People seek her for all sorts of advice. I even call her from abroad for advice, and she calls me for advice. We know who we are. We don't charge. She doesn't charge people for her services, but if she did, oh boy. But you know what? She's already rich. And what's even more amazing is that she knows it. When the money doesn't come in, all she does is labors harder and harder in her sewing business. That's where she gets her bread and butter from. And people come to her to get their clothes made, but they also seek her for advice. They get that extra added bonus, that perk. I don't blame them. So you may have to look at, what do you offer the world? What have you been giving away for free? And what could be your bread and butter one day? It doesn't mean that you have to, start feeling selfish and saying, okay, I'm going to start charging because I'm tired of giving this away for free. But I just want you to look at just how rich you are today. I don't want you to define yourself by what you don't have and what someone's. Don't do that. Don't compare yourself to others. Do not do that. For right here in this book, it says in Proverbs chapter 13, verse 7, there is that maketh himself rich, yet hath nothing. There is that maketh himself poor, yet hath great riches. The ransom of a man's life, on verse 8, are his riches, but the poor heareth not rebuke. Remember that. And in verse 11 it says, wealth gotten by vanity shall be diminished, but he that gathereth by labor shall increase. Take that and keep it close to your heart. Keep it close to your heart.